mass demonstrations engulfing France, Germany and Italy as police clash with protesters over the tightening of COVID restrictions. There are reports that one protester too in Germany's collapsed and died later in hospital. Since early July, daily infection cases in Western Europe have remained relatively low, but they are still on the rise.
We've seen these protests across Western Europe, particularly in France and Italy and here in Germany, as well, as people are unhappy with COVID restrictions that are being put in place, and particularly when it comes to requirements or potential requirements for what's being called the EU Green Digital Pass, a digital vaccine certificate, if you will. Now, those demonstrations across Western Europe, they turned nasty at times over the weekend.
We are civilians. We just want our basic rights back. And they are the ones armed who are taking action against peaceful civilians. The Geneva Convention was passed in 1949, and they are negating it.
I am here to defend freedom of speech because Emmanuel Macron is trying to stifle any kind of public speech into a pseudo-privilege called the sanitary pass, which is in fact a way to control people.
Well, the EU Green Pass has caused much uproar, particularly in France, where over 200,000 people across the country came out onto the streets to vent their unhappiness. It was a much smaller affair here in Berlin, around 5,000 people coming out. That's after the courts here in Germany said that the demonstration couldn't go ahead as it was the potential to be a super spreader event for COVID-19. Those that did come out onto the streets of the German capital were met by riot police who were backed up with water cannons.
We've carried out around 500 arrests in relation to, among other things, violations of the ban on assembly, but also to violations of the infection protection measures, as well as acts of resistance and physical assaults on emergency forces.
Well, in France, health union bosses are calling on Emmanuel Macron to make vaccination mandatory. They say that a digital health pass isn't going to cut it when it comes to trying to stop cases rising in the country. And they want the French president to go as far as making sure that everybody must have a jab. That's not the message that's coming out from here in Germany. There's no talk of mandatory vaccinations. But what we've heard from Markus Söder, the leader of the state of Bavaria, senior politician in the ruling coalition here, he's been saying that you don't have to get a vaccination, but if you don't, you won't have access to many things.
Anyone who is fully vaccinated will get back their rights. What is needed now are clear lines so that we don't blunder into autumn. Those who have been offered vaccination and consciously rejected it will no longer be tested for free.
Well, compared to countries like the United States and the United Kingdom, cases of COVID-19 across Western Europe remain low. However, they are rising. And here in Germany, the Robert Koch Institute, the federal institute that looks after public health and disease control, is already warning that we may be on the cusp of a fourth wave of COVID-19.
And whatsoever you shall ask in my name, that will I do, that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If you shall ask anything in my name, I will do it. If ye love me, keep my commandments.